There's only one place for the breaking news in the world of instructional design. The ID Update with Tom and Joe. All the news you never knew you never needed. Only on IDT.
Been good. It's been an exciting little month for me. So yeah,
Cool.
I've got a lot going on. I start up a new job on Tuesday. I finally got the elusive manager title. Workforce management. I got a shirt that has my goofy face on it and your goofy face on it. Look at that.
It is the very height of haute couture fashion. That's going to be walking the catwalks of Milan and whatnot in the next 6 months.
Right. I get to walk out and people can ask me, "What's the identity update?" I know that's what ID stands for, but stop.
But it's not really what ID stands for. It's the world that's wrong and our industry that's right.
Correct. This is correct.
Absolutely. Oh, cool. Because we've got sound now. It appears when we first went live, we had no sound. Luckily, you just missed me poorly introducing the show. So, you win.
Yeah.
You're not going to miss the important thing, which is this bit. What are you drinking with us this month, Joey?
What am I drinking? So I'm coming at you with from our friends in Wiley Roots. It's another brewery out in Greeley, Colorado, a place that has no business making good beer. This is where we make our meat. This is where Colorado makes meat. It smells like actual manure. Wiley Roots, El Donkulus is the name of it. It's a New England style double IPA. So going to be hazy, smooth, creamy. I love these guys. And I guess since we're talking about some tea, since we're talking about some spice, though I won't get into this story. My glass for the day is from your neck of the woods. When I went out to London, picked up a glass from BrewDog. Partly because it actually is going to be able to fit this can. That's probably my main motivation. If I bring in a pint glass, it's not going to work. But Wormhole to Planet beer. That's the thing. So. But they're in a whole lot of trouble too. But we're not going to talk about that. We got enough trouble to talk about. That's what I'm coming at you with. All right, your turn, your move.
Well, quick shout out to Luke and Q in the conversation for joining us early, and Luke for a Coke and Famous Grouse. Very nice, very nice. Now, my beer story is disappointing, and it's disappointing because I thought I had 4 cans of the best beer on the planet. I had 2 cans of it, and so now don't have any for this show. So what it was going to be is Very Big Moose, from Fierce, and this is a phenomenal imperial stout, small batch brewed. What do they call it? This is the original Very Big Moose Imperial Stout, a beer that has its own. That has won many global beer awards. Huge cacao and vanilla with a touch of cinnamon, vicious warming, and altogether pretty amazing. Moose don't get much bigger than this. It is a 12% stout, so not exactly a summer beer, but
I'm only coming in with 8.5.
Hey, well, that's what I wanted. However, not realising I only had 2 cans of it, I have none left, and so I am reduced to an American-style IPA from the supermarket. Like, not from a brewery. Yeah. It's going to be probably the most basic beer on the planet. It may as well just say beer honest on the label.
To be fair, it does say American soil, so like it can't be good. I was excited for you to drink that. This can't be good.
It looks very normal. Let's put it that way. There's nothing remarkable. Yeah. Do you know when you just smell something and go, "Oh, that's the smell of beer"? It's that smell.
Yeah, it's why my wife didn't like beer for the longest time.
This is it. It could be, very good. It could be terrible. I'm weighing in on the second side of that, but we shall see.
Well, cheers and good luck. Clink.
Indeed.
Actually, gotta do this right. Tap. Oh, mine's good. A project.
It's kind of like water was stored near some beer and kind of
Cool. You
picked
got
up
La Croix.
a bit of the flavor. It's definitely picked up the aroma of beer. Um, Never mind. We shall do better in future. We shall do better in future. So
Sounds
moving on from that disappointing start to the show right there. I mean, there is. This is the show. I was gutted when we had to postpone this show. The story of postponing the show is pretty much it being Thursday and me going, oh crap. We're supposed to do a show
Yeah.
tomorrow and we're quite busy. Uh, so I mean, over the last month, I think we've worked on one of the same projects, which has been a little bit full on for the last month. Plus, obviously, organising IDTX, which has been a joy. Honestly, it was not a huge mistake to organise a conference in 2 months. It's great. Everyone should do it just once in their lives. Um, but let's dive into like a proper topic. Where do you want to start?
Oh God. Actual news or fun? Let's do actual. Let's do actual news stuff
Let's do
because it's
that.
gonna lead into everything else.
Yes. Yeah.
Um. So, and it also kind of brings up a fun conversation that we were having. So, one of these is a piece. The kind of the fun conversation is a piece of news that we missed in April because it's actually kind of hard to find any real news on training and learning development because it's embedded in other things. Um, so the thing that matters the most, the thing that we're focused on, is the acquisition of Pluralsight. That is comfortably taking effect, and it's more interesting in that. So back in April, um, let's see, Vista Equity Partners said that they were going to acquire Pluralsight for $3.5 billion. Now, Pluralsight is like a workforce development platform. It's kind of like Udemy, but they focus more on tech jobs and things like that. So cute, neat, huzzah. I have my own problem that's coming from an equity partner. I mean, that's venture capitalism, and I've been victim to enough of those guts. But here's where it gets interesting: $3.5 billion when it was originally reported. I'm sorry, not April, last December. Way off. However, when the transaction actually ended when it actually concluded, which it concluded like a couple weeks ago, but it was kind of announced-ish in March. It actually jumped 11%. Instead of saying we're going to buy you for 3.5, they actually are now buying it for $3.8 billion. Which is I think is the largest recorded sale of a training company in history. It's a monster. But I find it really interesting that it skyrocketed 11% in even the last couple of months, given that everything regarding this industry has skyrocketed in the last couple of months. Um, so I find that kind of cool. And I'm matching this up to something else that happened back in April, which is kind of why I'm bringing up the news of this. There's a company called Coursera, similar idea, that went public. They went public in April, and they shot up to $7 billion in valuation from it. So, and I want to say I think that was at least like a $3-4 billion shift from what they were expecting. So I'm starting to see like, here comes big company, or here comes companies getting bought. Here comes them, here comes training showing its relevancy in actual dollars now. And I think that's fun. I think that's interesting, and I'm kind of scared. So here's the thought. Here's the conundrum for you. I dealt with this in college with graphic design. And what happened in graphic design is 2001 happened, 9/11 happened, graphic design just crumbled under the demand for its own relevancy. And they kind of made it too easy, and they made it too accessible, they made it too kind of pointless. So I'm seeing all these big companies, and I'm seeing the growth of training, and I'm seeing everybody get bought out, and the industry has exploded. And my worry is that in our demand to be relevant, now that we're getting out of COVID and we're going to start to come back to the office, is our demand for relevancy going to screw us in the long run? Is the industry smart enough to show the long-term value of what we bring instead of the explosion of this short-term, oh God, we need virtual training? Is there a longer play? in graphic design there wasn't, and now you're reduced to going to the office supply store and getting a business card made in 10 minutes and completely ruining somebody that has a degree. I'm wondering if this is a sign that the same thing could start happening. If big companies are buying it, they're going to want to make their money back quickly. That's going to mean they're going to increase accessibility. I wonder where it goes. Anyway, that was a
I think,
whole lot to absorb
oh,
there.
yeah.
Acquisitions, a little worried, half excited. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, Luke's just in the chat there, bringing up the recent valuation of Articulate at $3.75 billion.
Right?
Like they make
Um,
storyline.
yeah.
It's
Um,
uh,
$1.5 billion in fundraising
yeah,
for Articulate.
and a valuation literally today. I'm seeing the article in the Wall Street Journal, a final valuation of 3.75.
Yeah,
I
like
mean,
that's
that's
unicorn territory.
huge. It is.
That's absolute unicorn territory.
Um,
But here, let's go right back to the question.
yeah.
If somebody takes advantage of that, if that becomes a thing, how does Articulate how does somebody make their money back and Articulate? And that is going to be increased accessibility, which could very well dumb down everything. I don't know if this is a good thing. It's a cool thing. I
Yeah,
hope I get paid
it's
more.
that'd be nice, wouldn't it? Wait, can you replay that?
Replay what? We can say what we did. Articulate $1.5 billion fundraising, $3.75 billion valuation. Which doesn't mean shit unless somebody buys it, or they go IPO. And
No, but it's a pretty strong.
oh yeah,
It's a pretty strong sort of indication of where the market is at and where the demand for this software is going.
yeah, totally
Because
agree.
I think what we if this will kind of link into something we're going to discuss later on. I'm seeing a lot more people now when they talk about quote unquote becoming an instructional designer or learning to create e-learning, they're not talking about understanding the learning process. They're not talking about what you might call traditional or classical or purist instructional design skills. They're talking about learning storyline. They're talking
Yeah.
about triggers, variables, states, and layers, but they're not talking about what makes an effective learning experience.
Mhm.
What should you use that to do?
Yeah. Oh
And I
god, that statement
think,
leads into literally like 7 topics we wanted to talk about
yeah,
today.
absolutely. But I think this is almost like an indication that is happening. Because clearly, if more and more people are buying the license, but we're not seeing lots of people talking about those core skills, but we are seeing them talk about the technical skills, that's clearly where the focus is. And I think in-house especially, like I was speaking to some people who work at a company I used to work for,
Mhm.
and they were saying, oh yeah, we've got people that do that. The people that are using Articulate in their business are not L&D people. They are
Right.
they are comms and brand people,
Mhm.
but they're putting out the e-learning.
Right. Here's a
Um,
question for you.
it's interesting.
Yeah, so here's a question for you. What do you think just a general about LinkedIn Learning? Because they're another one. So I'll start there and then I'll lead into what exactly I was chatting about. Like I struggle with LinkedIn Learning.
I find it
What do
to
you
be
think of
a
it?
very mixed bag. Like some of it I think is well intended, but too blandly delivered because the platform pretty much supports one thing: video.
Mhm.
Um, it does that
Yeah.
very, very well. If the goal is to host a lot of video-based learning content, nailed it.
Mhm.
Do I think that a wholly video-based syllabus is a good way to really get to grips with a topic? No, if I'm honest. I much prefer to see that blend of content. And to be fair, some of
Mhm.
them do offer like downloadable files that you can get involved with, and I quite like that element, but a lot of the courses also don't.
Mhm.
I also challenge some of the relevancy of some of the courses. Because
Mhm.
one thing you don't know is, some of these people are very well known. I use, for example, unless I'm misremembering, I want to say Tim Slade has some instructional design courses on there,
Mhm.
or some
Yeah, I
articulate
think I've seen him
storyline
pop up.
courses on there. Yeah, I'd have quite a lot of confidence that what he's saying is going to be of good quality.
Mhm.
However, if I was an instructional designer learning to do the role, would I just watch some videos and then consider that to be, a complete learning experience going into that role? No. I would want to have back and forth. I would want to speak to people. I'd want to discuss. Um, I th-
Okay.
I think much like everything else, I have no problem with LinkedIn Learning being part of your overall learning experience. I don't
Mhm.
think it's a solid standalone learning experience. Um,
So I bring that up because
yeah.
that's what happened. What we see now with Pluralsight is exactly what happened with Lynda, which is
Yes.
now LinkedIn Learning. LinkedIn
Yeah.
bought Lynda, and they actually didn't even do it with a training plan. They just wanted to create a better experience for LinkedIn people and figure if we're guiding professionals to the next career, having training included is great.
Yeah.
I
It
loved the
is.
day. I actually really liked Lynda. I liked it a lot. Um, and then when it moved over to LinkedIn, it kind of felt like a wiki page of training all of a sudden, of just like anybody can shove whatever and you
Yeah.
go. It felt, I don't want to say dumbed down. That's kind of cruel, but it's that accessibility thing that I'm concerned
Yeah.
about with like Pluralsight and whatnot. Because I don't care. I loved going to Linda. Like it was kind of a privilege to go to like when you get it, it was part of your benefits
Yeah.
package. Um, and now as part of LinkedIn Learning, like I see a video that I half care about, and now it's just getting promoted to high heaven, and it's weird. It's just weird. And I'm wondering, like, yeah, if Pluralsight does the same thing, Coursera does the same thing, they're in the same space. I don't know. That's kind of why I
Yeah.
brought it up. We've already seen the story play out.
Yeah. But I feel like it's very when you talk about Coursera as well. I mean, I'm not sure if speak up anyone who has done stuff on Coursera. I've done a couple of courses on there,
Mhm.
and the one big thing was having to submit work.
Mhm.
To me, that made that a much more well-rounded and more effective learning experience. I had to
Yeah.
do stuff in order to pass the course.
Mhm.
So to me, it means a bit more. It's also that having to, I hate to say having to pay at the end is a good thing, but I think to an
Mhm.
extent it actually is.
Yeah.
I think having to say I'm willing to invest in this actually allows you to say, okay, then here are the deadlines. Submit your work.
Mhm.
It will be graded. You'll receive feedback. You'll get a grade based on that, etc., etc. I think that
Yeah.
is. It's certainly a more classical learning experience, which doesn't inherently make it better, but I feel like
Mhm.
it is, for me anyway. Both in terms of looking at it from a learning design perspective and having done the courses, I found it more effective.
I think it's
Um,
smarter doing a little bit of work, as the company doing a little bit of work as opposed to letting an algorithm determine whether or not you've completed. Because
yeah.
the journey with Coursera is actually really cool because they used
Mm,
to just be moot. They used to just do massively online courses that were provided for free. And then when they had their new, I think a new CEO or somebody else came in and said, no, we're not doing that. We're going to monetize quickly. Because they actually did a study, a university did a study um with them that showed that 80% of people who registered for free MOOCs, massively online, online courses, um, only half of them bothered to look at a single lecture. So they
yeah.
80% who registered, half bothered to look at a single lecture, 4% completed courses. And Coursera looked at this and said, "This is stupid. Why are we providing this for free out of the gate with stuff later? Let's make you commit to money now
Yep.
so that way it's going to at least increase." And they generated $294 million in revenue in 2020. Like that's
This is it.
nuts.
I think this is exactly it. But they did it by offering value. They
Yeah.
looked at their courses and said, this isn't just a resource that you look at and then walk away from. We're going to challenge you. You're going to walk away with genuine, you'll have demonstrated competency, which is exactly, funny enough, what Mr. Suarez has just brought up in the chat, said about how LinkedIn learning courses don't demonstrate any competency. You get to the end and
Yeah.
you get a certificate, and I don't want to be the guy that rags on the LinkedIn thing of look at all my LinkedIn certificates. But I'm gonna be that guy because it's me. Um,
How about,
I
I
d-
can do it because I lost a job to it because I have me and certifications are not friends because I
no,
don't think that they make you good at anything. They just make you good at marketing yourself as good at it.
I feel like this is a lot of what LinkedIn is for. is to be
Yes.
able to go, well, I've done 16 LinkedIn courses. It's like, oh, cool. So you
Yeah.
actually have those skills. Well, I've done the courses.
Like those Indeed skills assessments. Like
Yeah.
I get asked to
Yeah.
do an Indeed skills assessment on management styles. Like, oh, look at my portfolio. Shut up.
Yep.
Look what I actually did. Talk to me. Give me a call.
This is it, and I feel like that's not the market that LinkedIn Learn has very clearly gone after the, we know you want to put this on your online CV. So they've
Yeah.
created from a marketing perspective, I imagine they've done the clever thing here, because they're bundling it into a fairly cheap membership model anyway.
Yes.
You join a paid tier of LinkedIn, you get it thrown in, it makes your CV look better, and rightly or wrongly, it does work.
Yeah,
As
I
you say,
proudly sport my I so proudly sport my project management certification for ID. Um, do I know how to explain the actual value that it brought to me? No. Does it get me to the interview so I can talk about actual projects? Sure.
this is it. If it's
To be
this,
honest, and I feel bad, and
yeah.
I'm sorry, ATD. This episode not sponsored by ATD, but that course was okay. I learned how to make a pizza efficiently.
Well,
It was
that's
okay.
good. That'll come in handy. Um,
They
but
put
yeah,
six people. They put us into groups, 6 people groups, and said, "All right, come up with the most efficient way to make a pizza." And the first thought that we all had was like, kick 3 people out of the group. just that's too many people already. And like, there we go, we passed.
yeah, yeah. I think this is kind of the trouble with a lot of online courses, online learning experiences, is that because let's face it, there's a few of them available, more than a few, in fact. In fact, it's kind of difficult to log onto the internet without someone trying to sell you a course. Um, and some of them are great. They are absolutely phenomenal. Others are absolute garbage. And then there are lots that sit in the middle. And I think
Yes.
on every part of that spectrum, there are people who are genuinely putting out what they consider to be a great product. And some of them are right and some of them are wrong. And there are those who know full well what their product is and market it accordingly. And I think a lot of you see that LinkedIn Learning to me is that exemplified, where you've got industry experts like Tim Slade and a couple of other people putting out top quality content. Yes, it is limited in its value based on the platform that it's on, but that's not their fault. They're doing what they can with the platform. And there are those who have released 30, 40, 50 LinkedIn Learning courses, which is not a good sign straight away, with introductions to like all different topics, and who are just churning out courses in order to make money.
I
Um,
hate I hate
and
it.
there's a real
Um,
challenge there.
I made the mistake, and by made, I mean I still have made the mistake because now it's fun for me of being on the Facebook sell your course Facebook groups, and they're garbage. It's like used car salesman stuff, and nobody cares about whether or not the content's actually good and whether it's valuable. It's how do I put myself in front of anybody in any way, shape imaginable. And it's like I can't help but relate it to like celebrity reality shows where it's just the same people cycling money and people around, and it's
Mm,
just the same group validating themselves, hoping somebody comes in. And I was chatting with somebody, her name is Kat Sorbella. She's a fantastic woman who is great at what she does, and she kind of popped in and got really engaged in that. And she took a look back recently and said, I'm actually not getting anything out of this except weird validation for stuff that hasn't been proven to work at all. Like the fact that everybody in the group says it works doesn't mean that anybody has actually shown success of it working. And as a trainer and educator, it doesn't mean that the content I have is worth buying anyway. Which
that's so
is
interesting.
as a short term that doesn't mean anything. As a long term means a ton. I don't want to spend the entire
It's
hour
tricky, isn't it?
ranting about my loathing for that.
So we'll tell you
Because I
what.
could,
Yeah,
but it's an easy segue.
but let's
into-
cap that topic off then with this comment that actually Q's just put in the comments. I didn't realise this, that some
yeah.
libraries offer LinkedIn Learning for free. Now I'm not sure whether that's a US versus UK thing.
What's
Um,
a library? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's just a sign of the
I
time.
see. It's the buildings with the books in that the communists built. That's
Oh,
that's the best way to
the
remember it.
Capitol building? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, that is one of the scenarios where I think that could be so useful for those, looking to get their first job, looking to break into an industry. I kind of get it there.
Heck you. This is just this is so habitual, and now I feel like a Pantene Pro V commercial. Thanks for calling it out.
We'll drop in an ad slot one week where it's just you under a waterfall flicking your hair. Oh, the perfect shampoo for the ID in your life. This Christmas, bye. Yeah, I'm not even sure what we'd call that, but who knows? Maybe
Wouldn't
one
it
day.
be funny if a shampoo company were our first sponsor?
Come on, people, find us a shampoo. Doesn't have to be a good shampoo. We don't care. There's everyone else on YouTube going, I pick very carefully who I take money from. It's like, no, give me the money. I'll say what you want me to say. Hand me the script.
Honestly, the hair thing I think started early because I actually used to have a really bad habit of like you remember like you used to curl your hair, which was like apparently like a stress quirk where you just kind of twirl your hair and it screwed up. And I had that when I was a kid of how I just dealt with being nervous.
Uh,
So I've
see,
always had this just like putting my hands in my hair thing
huh.
going on.
So I never really had that much because, like, from 13 to 27, I had like long hair, like bottom of my
Ooh.
back long hair. So I didn't
Oh, we
ever
need
really have that
pictures.
choice. it's,
Yeah,
it's,
I'm gonna find pictures of that.
yeah, that was. In fact, I can tell you how long ago it was. I started growing my hair when The Phantom Menace was launched in cinemas.
Oh,
So from that point,
you just didn't want to shower? Like this is so bad. Didn't
well,
want
no,
to
no,
take yourself
I showered.
self-soothing.
I showered. I
Okay.
just didn't cut my hair. You can do one and not the other. That's
Okay, that's true. That's fair. That's fair.
yeah. But yeah, no, that was. So yeah, I never really had the hands in hair thing 'cause you can't do it without looking insane with long hair. But
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah. It
no,
was always a
that's.
nervous quirk for me,
Mm,
and now I just do it.
yeah,
But whatever.
I
Sounds
just
like
drink.
someone's getting a
Um,
buzz off of my session, my impulsive behavior.
Absolutely. So I mean, let's move on from LinkedIn Learning and the people who have got billions of dollars that we don't have, which is an outrage,
Yeah,
quite frankly.
yeah.
Um, to tell you what, let's do the social media buzz. Let's do the
All
obvious
right.
segue from that conversation. Um, as if anyone.
I introduced myself. Good.
Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say I was just gonna be like, you introduced it. I did the last one, which is
Oh right, yeah.
exactly what you were gonna do anyway. So I'm gonna sip my beer, stroke my hair, and shut up.
Awesome. Yeah. So for those living under a rock, um, Karen North posted an interesting series of videos in June that looked at an area of the ID industry that, and I kind of mentioned it at the time, I feel like everyone's been uncomfortable with for a very long time, but not really said anything. And I think part of that is because, certainly from my perspective, I never looked very closely at it. And
Yeah.
the only reason I want to talk about this actually is I don't just want to repeat what's been said or what's happened or what the fallout was, etc., 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 though we can touch on that. I want to kind of talk about what I've seen in terms of trying to hire people, and that
Okay.
hearing these things has kind of made me go, aha. So anyway, she came out with some videos basically talking about how some ID academies and learn to be in ID programs or go from a teacher to an ID, all this stuff that are quite expensive. Turns out they're not very good. And they make certain promises they don't deliver on, all these sorts of things. And I thought she did a very good job of being very diplomatic whilst bringing up a very tetchy subject. Um,
I gotta call out diplomatic the first time. I think diplomatic in the first video
yes, okay.
of
Oh, yeah, I'd give you that.
ask these questions about
Yes.
ID academies, and then a little fallout happening, and then she just jumped into here's why they're shady.
Yeah. No,
Just
and
she
okay, yeah,
followed up with a
I'd
playlist.
yeah. I would give you that, yeah. But to her credit, she's not done what I would have done, which is tell everyone exactly who the problem is and jump up and down on them. This is why I don't do those kinds of videos, because I wouldn't be able to stop myself doing it. And that's not a good look in the long term, really. So no,
No,
I
you
thought
balance out the certifications, LinkedIn Learning.
absolutely. Yes, anyway, I thought they were genuinely quite interesting.
Yeah,
And the
you're right.
reason, as I say, the reason I want to talk about it is that over the last 6 7 months, I've been looking for storyline developers mostly, but just recently we've been looking for a learning designer as well, and we've run into some problems and noticed a few patterns with people who are new to the industry at the moment, or certainly the ones that I was hearing from. For one thing, their portfolios all looked the same. Like, not similar, not like some key design elements shared, they looked the frickin' same. Um,
I don't know
so
any
this,
of this, by the way, guys. So I'm kind of like I'm reacting the same. I'm reacting as people are.
yeah. So it was a kind of weird experience to get kind of like 5 people go, oh, I'd be interested, look at them and think, 4 of these look very, very similar. One looks very, very different. Interestingly, the one that is very, very different had been doing this for many, many years, and accordingly and quite rightly wanted like the moon on a stick. I have no moons or any sticks. So that was a kind of wow, you're awesome. Sadly, that puts you out of the running for this role. Bye.
I
Um,
say nothing.
that's
I'm just having fun. I'm
yes,
having fun working for you guys.
yeah. I think I love what we do, but I think we'd all be the first to say that we don't pay people megabucks. We basically say, this is really awesome and fun. Do you want to come and do it? And this is what we can offer. And that's
Yeah.
not for everyone. I would be the first to say, I always said when people go into freelancing, there's 2 routes. There's the I want to work on fun projects and have control over my time route, and there's the I want to make an ungodly amount of money on a day rate route. If you go down the second route, it's perfectly valid, but you probably won't work with me very often.
Yeah.
Because I don't
Honestly, I
work
mean,
with
like,
banks and stuff.
I don't know. For me, like, I've done so much corporate work and whatnot, and I say this going right back into corporate ID along with working with you. But like the money that the money that I don't make with you, I would be paying for therapy. I think trying to do the other jobs. I call that a trade off. I
Yeah,
think it's a trade off,
and that's the
and
thing.
I'm happy with it.
I think it's a trade off lots of us have to make, isn't it? Is we kind of decide between, do I chase the bigger money, or do I take a job that I love? Don't get me wrong, sometimes you can get both, and those magical
Yeah,
moments should be kind of chased. But for most of us,
yeah,
there is some level of trade off. But
yeah.
anyway,
My highest paying job I've had in this industry is by far the worst one I've ever had.
I think
I that was the one I quit with no plan during COVID. I sacrificed way too much.
I think that's true of a lot of people. But I think this last
Yeah.
year, people have kind of gone, hang on a minute, this is no, I'm not doing this. Bye. Um, but yeah, anyway. So my point was that they were all very similar, and
Mhm.
a lot of the work samples were very similar. And one of the most consistent things was that none of the work samples were real. They were, I can technically design and create this. The moment you asked, so where did you deploy this? I didn't. It's only for portfolio. And I have no issue with that, in theory. But then you need to demonstrate to me what the point was. What does this show? Oh, well, it shows my ability to use storyline. Okay. Does it? Because you just kind of have some next buttons in the inbuilt menu. And they're all the same, and you've just kind of taken some stock graphics and dumped them in. Like, granted, it's not clip art. Thank you for that, but it's not
Little
great.
victories.
Yeah, this is it. And
Uh,
I don't know. I worry that they're kind of missing the point. All of them with their portfolios. They basically said, "Here's 5 examples of my work, and here's some blog articles that I've written about the usual subjects. What is instructional design, and why is graphic design important to instructional designers?" You
that's
could Google it
amazing.
and find exactly the same blog article reworded 1,000 times, kind of thing.
Yeah.
There was no kind of personality that I could have stolen it, put my name on the top, and said it's mine, and people have gone, okay, because there's no
Yeah, like
content
you're not
there
to
that's
find
about
somebody
them.
else.
Yeah, this is it. I don't know. They just
Uh,
felt like very. They felt a little bit soulless. You know?
formulaic.
Yeah, absolutely. Almost like someone had said, "This is what you should do." And they had done exactly that. Not here are the
That's
principles of solid web design and learning design. It was copy this, put your name on it, you'll get jobs.
I'd be curious how people like market that. I think that would be my here you go, Q. Okay. Here. Um I so on that exact topic, actually, going to the original of the Academy, Karen and I talked, and she sent me to a page. I'm not gonna drop names because I don't want to get into that. Of somebody who basically their all of their ID experience was stuff that they did for college. But in order to say they had experience, they changed all of their job titles that had some sort of teaching aspect to it to say instructional designer. So she was like a teacher for a public school and she said instructional designer for it. Like, no,
Huh,
you don't get to do that. Um and it
that's,
infuriates me. But
yeah.
if somebody wanted to say, I want to be a storyline developer and here's my proof in storyline, even with a next button, for me, that's different than saying I've been doing training and instructional design for 5 years with the
Oh,
same
yeah.
portfolio.
Yeah.
Um, like at
I
least
guess,
own up to if you
yeah.
own up to it, then I can at least teach you that crap.
This is it. But my argument there would be if you have no real experience doing it, why are you trying to become a freelancer? Like,
That's
freelancing to me is
fair.
not the role for someone saying, I have zero experience in doing this in the real world. I would like to freelance for you.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah,
I don't have a counter to that.
I would, yeah, I would. Like, I'm not saying it's impossible, and I'm not saying you have to
Sure.
have 100 years experience. But if you have never actually done the job, I consider it quite brave for you because you're exposing yourself liability wise. What if you get there and realize you can't do it? And from an employer perspective, I would be very hesitant to give an important outsourced contract that I need to hit deadlines or supply to a third party client with someone with not just very little experience but zero experience. Bearing in mind, as a freelancer, you can't expect your employers to upskill you or teach you or develop you.
Right.
That's not what that relationship is. That's what an
I'll send you a
employee
link to learning.
relationship is. Yeah, well, yeah, great. Have fun with that. And if you're, broadly, if I'm looking for a storyline developer, I do expect a bit more than here's a next button in the inbuilt menu. I expect to look at it and think, how did they build that? How did that work?
Mm,
From a dedicated development perspective, I do expect to be kind of tricked from, it doesn't need to be like super complex, but just something other than the norm. And certainly
right.
just not a next button in the inbuilt menu. I
Yeah.
don't,
Like the thing to
if,
pass the class, right?
yeah, it very much feels that way. It's, you got some content screens, a couple of states, a few layers. I think there's hover states on buttons. Ooh, exciting stuff. Like, it's all basic functionality. It's great. You can do good stuff with it. But if you want to be a freelancer, I also want to see some little sparks of you doing stuff that isn't just out of the manual. I want to see
Mhm.
you use a state to introduce audio changes. I want to see you think about how, you can use multiple images stacked up to create a kind of panoramic effect and create parallax menus and these kinds of things. That's what I look for. And that's what none of the people coming out of these very kind of cookie cutter learning experiences know how to do, let alone do and put in their portfolio. And I feel like
You think
to be fair, I think they're being set up is my bigger issue here, is because giving the feedback was a case of, you demonstrate literally none of the necessary skills for me to give you this freelance gig in your portfolio. So obviously I can't give it to you. And
Right.
they were all very shocked because they were all convinced that they had standout portfolios.
But the button makes it go. And then that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah. And
That's the whole thing.
like I said, I feel bad. Initially, I got annoyed with them, and then thought, actually, this isn't them. Someone's told them to do this, because otherwise they wouldn't all be the same.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, that's the only reason I wanted to talk about this topic, because I feel like it's creating a lot of people moving around, especially in the freelance space, who are getting very disappointed and probably very upset with an inability to find work. Eh. Yeah. I don't have an answer. I don't have a solution. I'm purely bringing up a problem. That's, this is why no one likes me in offices. Also, here we go. This is interesting. So Luke said, also showing your knowledge on a platform like YouTube, like you guys do, that's questionable.
You should have been here at the start.
There you go. There we go.
We didn't get the sound right.
Yeah, Ant Pew is a good example of that, though. Ant Pew's stuff is fantastic. I would say if you want to be a freelancer, his videos are insightful, because he gives a very honest opinion of when you should and when you definitely should not be a freelancer, and the fact that it's not easy. Yeah. Like
you
in
and I
20
started talking about the freelancer full time. I feel like I was
Yeah.
shared. I don't, not from you, but from somebody.
No, he's quite popular, and he launched a community earlier in the year. He used to have a Slack group, but now it's on. I want to say it's on like Mighty Networks or Circle or something, one of those paid platforms. Tom wants to be captivated. He keeps seeing the same storyline. Oh, terrible ID joke.
That's going on a shirt.
That's quite good. I like that.
We keep trying to come up with like the worst ID things that we can have, ID related stuff, and we got into pickup lines. I did, because I'm terrible. Like, hey, what's your learning style? Is a great way to walk into a bar, I think. So yeah, like the worse that they are, I think the more likely it's going to be on a shirt.
Absolutely, yeah. So Joey is modeling one of the ID update shirts
Yeah,
today. Look at that.
Oh, let me actually get in frame. There we
Look
go.
at that. Look at that. So I know I sent you a green one, but that does not look green.
That's because the color sucks on this camera, because it's the Logitech C920 that can't understand focus or color. I can also. Does this
That'll
help?
do it.
No, that just no.
It's kind of a bit more green, but it doesn't matter. That's fine. It's green.
More...
Trust us. So yeah, I mean,
no, that was too easy. Too easy, Q.
Oh
no,
dear.
this is green. It's actually super comfy too, by the way, and that's not me necessarily just like plugging for the sake of plugging. I was just like, actually, wow, because it's the first time I put the shirt on. Because I don't walk out in public with this.
Well, you wouldn't want everyone to immediately know who you are. I mean, at one point, 11 people tuned into this live stream. 11 people. I mean,
right?
I'm scared to go to the front door. I'm going to have to start getting other people to go to get the post. It's... yeah, no. So there is stuff on there now. There's a few bits and bobs. Mostly the store is actually going to be for IDTX. Today, our show, sponsored by the conference the show is paying for. Yeah, no, so yeah, I'll quickly run you guys through that. So IDTX, as you know, is the conference. It's coming up in a couple of weeks. 3 weeks, 4 weeks, something in that ballpark. I don't know exactly when it is, honest. And it is shaping up amazingly. Like I had no idea when I just went, I'm going to run a conference. Why not? How hard can it be? I've got 2 months. That should be long enough. yeah, stupid idea in that sense. However, the level of support, the number of people coming forward to say, I'd love to run a session, I want to be involved, I want to help organise, has been phenomenal. So we've got, some long time kind of professional and channel friends, but also people that I've never met before getting in touch and saying, this is awesome, we want to get involved. Um,
I
so
feel
that's
bad that I haven't done anything except, can I speak at it? I've been
you
busy.
you filled a 1 hour slot. That's the best thing anyone could do.
I did fill it out.
So no, that's awesome. So
I'm
that,
excited for it.
yeah, it is going to
We'll
be
talk
really good.
about
I
it in a
mean,
sec.
yeah, I mean the list of speakers has kind of blown me away. So let's see who have. The website isn't even fully up to date anymore. So we do have this guy, Joey Sennett. Not quite sure how good that session's going to be, but we want to give everyone a
The jerk.
chance. We've got Luke in the chat today, talking about carving out ID careers. We've got Phil Lord David, head of L&D at I Am Learning, talking about good design in user interface work. We've got Susie Miller coming on to talk about accessibility in
Oh,
e-learning.
Susie.
I know, right? We've got me
Awesome.
talking about portfolios for some reason. Uh, we've got 2 sessions with Emily Chorley talking about advanced storyline interactions. So on the Friday, she's going to do an interactive kind of informative slide, and on the Saturday, she's actually going to walk us through building an interactive game in storyline. So really, really interesting stuff from her.
So all you who just did an academy for storyline and can make a next button work should go to that.
The next logical step from automated next button is obviously complete interactive game. Um,
That
absolutely.
horse image where like have the crap horse and then it's beautifully designed on the right.
Absolutely.
It's
We
that.
got we got Joseph Suarez doing video production for the rest of us. I'm really looking
Ooh,
forward to that. We've
yeah,
got
that's awesome.
Yeah, we got Karen North doing an instructional design project from start to finish. Jane Davids
Nice.
doing Camtasia productivity tips. Helen Bailey doing an introduction to the Evolve authoring tool. We've got Anya Hartleb Parson doing We Don't Need No More Stinking Data, which is all about making
Oh,
data practical rather than just plentiful. We've got, do you know what? There's so many more people. And a couple of people have got in touch today, and they're kind of the people that I would never have approached to ask, um, would you like to speak at my weird, funny little conference in a UK time zone? Which seems to be the one thing that shocked everyone. It's like, it's an ID event in a UK time zone. Um, it's like, yes, we do have people in the industry, I promise. There's like 6 of us. We get together on Tuesdays at the pub. Um, but yeah, we got so many awesome people.
I'm excited for that.
I've wiped off my list, but yeah, the list going on. We do still have a couple of we need a couple more speakers on the Saturday. So if anyone in the chat wants to or knows someone who does, we're also running out of tickets. I think we have just under 100 tickets left.
Wow. How
They're
did you start with?
free. So we started with 500.
Wow, that's
So
awesome.
yeah,
I know I've got a few friends who just kind of dabble in it. Actually, I got to get my friend Mia in actually because she would really. I have a lot of friends who have transitioned into ID. It's just kind of how they naturally work. And kind of how
yeah.
their careers got them. I got to let them know actually. I've got a few of my friends, my buddies, who are gonna actually get to see what I do for a living, which is weird. It's gonna be weird. I'm
Sorry,
excited.
I've been distracted by Q in the chat. I didn't know he was still going.
No,
Uh,
he's still rocking it out.
we
I'm
might
actually
just
really
have.
excited.
Sorry, we might just have to give Q a T-shirt of his own with just a list of them, just front and back, like tour dates, only really bad puns. Um,
Q, if you want to take a half hour of Saturday's time slot on IDTX just for ID puns, I feel
and
that's really practical. I do.
yeah,
I
we'll
really
do
feel that's practical. I'm
puns
actually
and their
excited. So
roles.
I think you know that. I don't know if you know this. You might know this one, Tom. So the blog that I have, Training is Blank, that I've ignored for a year, but it's still my identity. The thing that I'm doing at yours, the marketing knowledge, is actually where Training is Blank came from, and it has literally zero to do with what the blog is about. just where the
Typical,
name
right?
came from. Um, I was thinking about it like when I was moonlighting at Hollister in the stock room like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, because I was like, I'm kind of bored, and the wife needs somebody who's reliable. Um, I started coming up with like because it's a bucket list item of mine to speak at a conference. So huge thanks for helping me fill that and get that started. But I was like, what would I actually go on? And I started coming up with ultimately what I'm going to be doing. Um, and it starts with my most hated thing of when you say something is something, like you do a definition, like how valedictorians say success. Webster's dictionary defines success as the blank.
Yeah.
Um, and then they fill it out. And that's actually where the name Training is Blank came from.
Hmm.
And then the blog itself has literally nothing to do with anything I'm going to talk about because I just thought it was a good name for a blog. Um,
Yeah, that's
which I got
cool.
kudos for. I got kudos for in an interview from somebody who didn't hire me. So
Hey,
I don't know if it's good or
that's
bad.
wow. Yeah, I've seen your content. Get out. That's never a good sign, is it?
Yeah.
But no, I think in
By the
fairness,
way, everyone,
that's
I'm a drinker.
that is the prevailing kind of message of our core content here on the channel. But but hey, that's it's important, and potential employers know these things, right? That's
Honestly, at the end of the day, if somebody can't handle something simple like a little bit of truth, a little bit of, surprise, the ID Academy stuff is doing more damage than it's helping, and anything that we talk about, then I don't want to work for that company. And I think that
yes,
I'm at that point in my career where I get to do that. Um, as for, the people who are brand new, you might have to sell out a little bit, but find some laurels to hold yourself to.
yeah,
Don't feel bad about it.
no,
Just
no.
don't.
I think that realistically, it's everyone does at some point in their career. Everyone, and I challenge anyone to say they haven't, has worked on a project where in their heart of hearts they know what they're doing is bad or not great at the very least. But I know certainly there have been content that if someone sent it to me for sign off, I would throw it back at them and consider why we had this person working for us in the first place. There's been some dreadful stuff along the way, and part of that is you learn as you go. No one's great at what they do the first day they do it. Um,
Yeah.
Realistically, anyway, certainly not in the workplace, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. But
Mhm.
you get
As
the
long as you own
option
it.
later on. Yeah, you get the option later on to say, "Wow, I will never do that again." And I think
Yeah.
that's the nice point of the career. Not to never having done bad work, but to say, I no longer have to do bad work.
Right. And I think, going back, bringing this whole episode full circle so far of, the acquisitions and accessibility and my
Mm,
concerns and everything about the academies and whatnot, I'm really interested in what ID looks like in 3, 4 years. And I'm not going to
yeah,
say that I'm scared about it. I'm going to say that I'm interested. I'm going to be on watch. I'm going to be on my guard. All that stuff that you just kind of said, and as we talk about practicality and value, and I don't have to do good work, is
yeah.
the industry with its explosion of new people and this explosion of academies that just kind of educate poorly. Does the definition of good change in 5 years?
Mm,
And does that change? Is it going to be so bad that our industry just gets devoured with mediocrity? Or are
God,
companies just going to, is that going to be the accepted norm? And I hate
mm,
to say it, our jobs just get easier. Um, I hope not. I really hope
no.
not. But
And I think
yeah,
there'll be two sides of it, but we'll wait and see, I suppose. We shall wait and see. So Q signed up to be the model for anything we do for for the channel. Fantastic. I'll send some stuff out and we can get some fantastic photos.
I
Um,
have a weird feeling that's on the list of bad pun pickup lines.
that's fine.
And if not, you're welcome. Of the
You can
things
do
like I love to
both.
be.
Why not?
There we go.
Real IDs wearing real ID nerd stuff. But yeah, no. So that, but looping back to that, that's why that stuff's going to be there. Is we've kind of decided that IDTX has been popular. People want to speak, people want to attend. That's usually a good sign. So we've decided we are going to do more events in future. They may not be big 2-day conferences. They may be half-day specific things. They may be 2-day conferences. They may be 1-day conferences. They may loads of different stuff basically. But we can only do
And
that
how much
if
money
we
you're willing to give Tom in the ID update? How
pretty
much
much, yeah.
money will you contribute?
Yeah. So we're at the moment we're eating it basically with both hands. And that's fine because we knew we were going to. But we're just kind of weighing up what to do on that front. We can do some stuff, but not as much as we want. So we do already have some people on things like Patreon. And they've been fantastic. They've allowed us to buy stuff to lead up to some of the cool videos we're going to be launching. We will eventually get them launched. They allowed us to buy like Camtasia so we could give it a go, basically. And not, I didn't feel right reviewing and potentially slagging off a product based on a free trial. That's not cool. So I figured we'll buy it. We'll give it a couple of months. We'll see how we get on with it.
My
I sound,
updates for Camtasia are real stupid. I'm
I
excited.
bet they are. But yeah, so it's a massive thank you to those people. Obviously, they've helped fund IDTX in that sense. The online store will do the same thing. Thus, we want to put like fun stuff on there. We're also going to put posters and wall art and stuff like that. With really important things like you'd never want to work in an office without a learning styles poster. So we're going to make sure we've got one of those. There we are. I thought I could Kirkpatrick. Oh God. Okay, so moving swiftly on from the puns in the chat, they're fantastic. I just we'll spend the entire evening reading them if I don't move on. Tell you what, let's dive in to the question I posted on LinkedIn earlier today.
A whole draw for the episode.
Yeah, totally. It brought like 5 people here. Woo! Go Tom. I'm fairly confident all of them would have attended anyway. But that's fine. So the question was, I'm hearing from a lot of clients, we do resources, not courses now. Courses aren't good for workplace learning. It's got to be a resource. It's got to be less than 5 minutes. It's got to be one side of A4. It's got to be whatever it might be.
I'm off in the distance looking.
I mean, I disagree.
Pulling stuff.
Sorry, carry on, mate.
You disagree?
Yeah, actually, that I don't think it's that simple. I don't think because a lot of this, and certainly in the UK, and it may not be the same in the States, comes from a book which is a very, very good book, How People Learn by Nick Shackleton-Jones. Excellent book, excellent point. He talks about resources over courses. What he doesn't say is you should never make another course. But in the same way that everyone says the 70-20-10 is an accurate measure and we should align all our training to that, and you must start learning objectives with these 7 words, everyone takes it a little bit too far. Rather than saying here's a principle, we say here is a rule and it is the law and the creation of a course is illegal, and it just doesn't make any sense. Courses don't work, really. So no one has ever learned anything from a course. Is that what you're trying to tell me? Are you sure that's your actual considered position in this discussion?
My immediate follow-up is, can you define a course for me? I've worked enough corporate life to know that people think the business mindset out of the gate is that I can throw together a PowerPoint, talk for 30 minutes, and I've done the same thing that a trainer does. Yeah. I agree with I agree with that. I caught a couple things because I didn't know Nick's name until you brought up the topic, and somebody else sent it over to me, and they're like, "You got to look this guy up." I was like, "Oh, this is a can of worms. This is a bit of insanity," and I like it, and I think I'm with you honestly on the not course. Like, courses are fine. Courses should be fine, and even Nick's thing is courses prepare you for the future. Resources help you in the moment, and then he's got guidance that guides your behavior after. That's Yep. But like even that. So you're saying, because you've got the experience of it, that people are not necessarily looking like courses to resources, which is what Nick posts its courses or resources instead of courses.
Yep. And the kind of
They
phrase
just
is
completely
resources,
screwed the
not
whole model.
courses. Yeah, it's resources, not
Okay.
courses. We don't do courses. Courses are old. Courses are old L&D. Um, and it's really sad to hear because 5 years ago it was 70-20-10. Is it 70-20-10? What do you mean by that? Well, is it 70% social and on the job? You want 70% of your employees' learning to be on the job. Are you sure? Are you really sure you want someone to learn something when it comes up with a customer? Is that actually a good idea? Or are you going to end up firing this person for upsetting too many people along the way? Because
They've
learning
clearly never worked in
involves.
call center.
But, and funnily enough, that's the environment I worked in at the time. Um, they'll learn socially, they'll learn on the job. There are a lot of times when that is true, and everyone will learn stuff on the job, but that shouldn't
Yeah.
be part of the plan because that's really dangerous
Mhm.
unless you're willing to accept a lot of mistakes along the way. If you are,
Yeah.
great, you can do that.
Customer service, you can't do that. You cannot do that in customer service land.
No, it's because no one says, oh, well, they're new, they're learning. No, you say, if you can't do the job, you shouldn't be taking my call.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
as simple as that. And I think this is the problem, is people like Nick present a perfectly valid research-based or certainly research-informed approach, present it in a book, and rather than people reading the book, considering it, building their own model or thoughts based on their own contextual situations, they pick up on three words: resources, not courses, and then they say it to everyone who pitches for work with them. So yeah, I
Sells
feel
better.
like, yeah, it does. It's catchy, right? And then
Mhm.
everyone starts writing blog articles about resources, not courses. Are courses dead? Resources are the future. All these amazing titles. Um, there we go.
We talked about this like last month or 2 months ago of is e-learning dead? Um, and then we
This is
talked,
it.
how big the industry was.
Yeah.
That makes me giggle. But if you want to learn more about this concept, please join my academy, the IDM team.
Yes, launching the IDT Academy, where
I
we'll
can't
teach
help
you
but
how to
feel like
build the perfect portfolio, remap your
there's no
CV.
there's no doubt in my mind that somebody who is literate use that as the only qualification to have them start some sort of course.
Hmm?
So, hey, IDs that are brand new, let's learn about the new thing. Sign up $49 for my course in creating resources and not courses, which is completely contradictory. But I bet somebody's done it. Oh, now I want to find one.
We'll
You
have to
talk.
have a
I'm gonna look for a course. I'm gonna look for a course on resources, not courses.
go for
Let's
it.
see if I
See
can
how
find it.
quickly you find one. Joe Suarez brings up a really good point. 70% of our employee learning is immeasurable. It's a fantastic
Yeah,
excuse, isn't it? Oh, yeah, why don't we have any data? Oh, it's 70-20-10. It's best practice. All learning should be 70-20-10, don't you know? It's and the issue is, I in at least one place had to sit there and map out components of an induction program against only 10% being formal, 20% being self-driven, and 70% being social. How do you map out social learning? I'm not gonna lie. I mapped a lot of stuff to that seven. In fact, I mapped about 70% of the delivered content to social learning, and they just kind of went, "Oh yeah, brilliant. We're 70-20-10 then." It's like, yeah, of course we are. Not a problem. Um, but that's the problem. And it's the same with resources, not courses. What we've got is a lot of senior leaders and management types getting these cut down, slim down messages and then disseminating them, and only working with IDs who mirror them back to them. Um, and I thought really carefully before posting this because, like I said, I do agree with everything Nick puts in the book. That resources have a place that courses shouldn't be in, and the reverse is true. Courses prepare, resources help you do. That's just common sense, isn't it? Except we didn't used to call them resources; we used to call them job aids. Um,
right.
I yeah. Oh, okay. So Q endorses resource, not course. I don't know if this is a pun or if he disagrees.
I think he's going for rhymes at this point. I don't know.
There we go.
I'm kind
Um,
of struggling. I'm struggling to search because it keeps finding courses. Though putting in like I searched for course on resources, not courses, and I've got this laundry list
wow.
of it's time to switch from courses to resources. And it's similar crap. And then Elucidot of all companies, Elucidot actually is on our side here of why they say that is it's just they call it resources not courses and other songs, and then they just kind of bash it as a jingle. Um, I think I'm saying that right. Elucidot. I think they're an
Yeah.
authoring tool or LMS. Their
Yes. Yeah.
marketing is absolute garbage, and I loathe it with the passion of a thousand suns. But at least in one instance, they're right.
Do you know
Uh,
what the really sad thing is? Their authoring tool is spectacular. It's
is
bloody
it?
brilliant. It's absolutely phenomenal. But their marketing sucks. Their website sucks. And sorry, guys, your customer service sucks too. Um,
Yeah.
but the
I don't give it
tool
a second look
itself,
because they
phenomenal.
constantly do these reviews. They're like, we want to be
Mm.
relevant in the industry. Let us review top authoring tools and top LMSs, and it's all like Elucidot number one. I was like,
What
saw
is it?
this coming.
As if they were going to say, "Yeah, we're sixth when we review our own tool against the competitors."
Why are they
Yeah,
wasting our
I
time? I'm so mad.
fair. But yeah, the actual tool, personally, I think it's great. Um,
Okay, I haven't tried it.
yeah, it's the issue with it is that it is unfathomably freaking expensive. So the only time you get to use it is when a company buys the licenses. Like it's like $4,000,
I
or
find it.
somewhere in that ballpark, if I remember correctly. It really is. Yeah, it's a funny old tool. The authoring tool vendor is on the course side of the debate. Yes, yeah, shock, right? It's a bit like Articulate
25.
saying. Sorry, it's a bit like Articulate saying slide-based e-learning is not dead. Um,
Wow. 20 Elucidot 2,500 per user with a minimum of 3 users per plan.
there you go. Look, that's it's certainly not what I would describe as a freelancer-friendly purchase. Um,
No.
yeah, but don't get me wrong. I think they're playing a somewhat sensible game there because the biggest market for authoring tools is businesses. It's not freelancers. It's not standalone IDs. You
You're
know,
right.
when Articulate sell me my license each year, they don't give a crap about my one payment. What they care about is the business with a 10-person Teams license. They're
Mhm.
raking it in off them. And it's guaranteed they're gonna come back because a business has to have that license, even if they move away from Articulate. Because what if they have to edit the old course at some point? So no
Mhm.
matter what, they're keeping the licenses, and they know that once most businesses are in an ecosystem, they're not going to move without a big reason to.
No.
And not many organizations, especially in storyline, like if you've already got storyline embedded as a business, what are you going to move to, really? And why would you? Um,
Gomo authoring.
Luke brings up a good point. Gomo authoring is pricey, and Gomo has no right to be pricey, in my opinion. It's it's always struck me as a weird one. Like I've never understood how it's as expensive as it is. Not when you've got the likes of Evolve on the market that'll say we can do all of that and 36 quid a month. It's
So you know what going back to the topic, I'm kind of amazed that Articulate hasn't jumped on the idea of resources, not courses. Because if you're using Storyline as your resource instead of a course, you're trapped forever.
Rise.
Don't get me started on Rise.
But that's totally what Rise is.
That's not untrue.
You,
Because it's
once you,
not good for anything else.
I've heard this from an Articulate trainer. Oh, you're building
Really?
resources. Rise is perfect for building interactive resources.
You know, I got to think about that because now
I
I can give a little of respect. If that's the mentality going in, I would be less mad at Rise if
I
it's
don't
just
yeah.
a one-off.
I don't think it was the intention. I think it's the spin after the fact if I'm honest, because
Okay,
Rise has been out for a long time, but Rise
that's
also now
true.
exists as a standalone platform, Rise.com, with a kind of self-hosting element to it as
Yes.
well. That to me is a play into that resources market, because Rise is not loved by many IDs. Certainly not those who are a bit more visually focused or visually creative in their work, because there's a lot you can't do with it, and a lot of
It's
that is
like your beer.
unnecessary. Yes, it is. It
It's
is
sat next
bland.
to it sits
Yes.
next to an authoring tool.
That's what you mean. Yeah. I think the thing is, I have no problem with heavily templated. Like, I love Evolve. And people go, how can you love Evolve but not particularly like Rise? It's like, but Evolve is limiting, but also allows you to play with certain things. It gives you that
Mhm.
next level of option. So if you want to go and mess around with stuff, you can. Rise doesn't even give you that option. Rise takes away
Um,
options that there's no reason to take away. Like, how long
right?
did it take them to put closed captions into Rise? They arrived, what, a year ago, and Rise has been out for 3, 4 years? Like, really? Closed
Yeah.
captions? That was so difficult considering you've always had it in storyline? You couldn't just port that over. Even now, can you actually close caption in Rise? No, you have to create the file somewhere else and import an exported VTT file. It's like, what? This is not complicated.
You know, I
Um,
just realized because I've never brought it up because I don't do reviews on these. Oh, I gotta flicker. Don't mind me. Flicker in the camera.
oh,
Um,
hey, there you
yeah,
go.
this episode is not going to be sponsored by Logitech until you can fix your autofocus issues, guys. Anyway, back on point. I took a look at Rise because I don't look at their release notes really because it's just not one I
Mm.
care about, and they don't do anything for it. A lot of couple little fixed things here and there. I haven't actually seen a major. I'm kind of strolling through to see if I can find something that has a lot of new. 2019 maybe has 3 new things.
And Joe Suarez, no, it's not. Start course will always be start course in Rise. I think. Um, I don't wrong. I don't use Rise very often. I try to avoid it like the plague. Um, you can do cool stuff with Rise. I just feel like it's unnecessarily hard work to get to look good. Um, and plus, I think there are so many Rise courses now, and Rise kind of always looks the same. Everyone
Yeah,
spots them a mile off, and they're just not great. And I think the other tools like Evolve, Domino came up with, they've in their package, I can never remember what the names are. Flow, I think, is the beat the crap
yes,
out of Rise. That's fantastic. Love it. Um, if
that
I
popped
had,
up recently.
if I had the choice to ditch Articulate and switch over to Domino, I think I probably would. Um, it's never as simple as that. It's not used by enough people to make it an option. Certainly, from a freelance perspective, internally turning around and saying, "Well, we need to reauthor," you know, 200 and some odd courses is not going to fly just because as an ID you want a nice shiny new tool. Um,
Mhm.
but I do think there's like stuff that's a prime example actually. Like Joe Suarez says with the start course button, there's just no reason to not make that editable. What difference does it make? Why can I not decide what text is in the buttons? You know, would that really be that difficult? At the point where you've created multiple authoring tools, would it be so hard to allow me to change some text? It's
They want to trademark start course. That's what it is.
maybe, yeah, this is it. But we've said it before. What I basically want is Webflow to have the option to say publish to SCORM. That's what I want. Or publish to XAPI. I just want that. I just want the Webflow interface so I can design whatever the heck I want with whatever customization, add in some reporting functionality, and give me that. And I don't understand why that isn't on the market yet. Because it should be. There's no legitimate reason for it. It just needs a and maybe some of these big valuations, maybe that'll be the upside. Maybe some of these web development companies will go, "Oh, this industry is worth some money. Maybe we should show them how a design tool is supposed to work.
It'd be
Like, you
great.
know,
It won't happen with Pluralsight, because Pluralsight
no,
got bought up by venture capitalists, but
no, but I think it'll be something like Webflow or Wix, even.
people.
I mean, heck, Wix is better than Rise at designing like decent stuff. Wix isn't great,
Can't
but
say
it's
crap because
better
that's
than
what's
Rise.
hosting training is blank.
Yeah, but I mean, Wix does like the IDTX website is a quick put together on Wix. It's better than
Yeah.
what you could do on Rise. It does what it does. But just if I could use that kind of interface, but then just have a publisher's e-learning option, great. I would switch to that in a heartbeat. More
Mhm.
so if it was Webflow, because you got more design options. But there's just no reason for that not to be around yet. And
No,
I
I
know
agree.
technically you can take like the exported HTML and CSS files from Webflow and you can package them up as a SCORM file and blah blah blah, but that's a lot of manual work. I can't see
Yeah.
that being worth the time, if I'm honest.
I don't
Um,
like doing
yeah,
stuff that requires me to have a skill set that's not my industry in order to make my industry work.
yeah, exactly. It's a funny old thing, but so yeah,
You can make a course and or resource on it.
yeah, why not?
Getting back to
Why not? But yeah, so I guess that was kind of, it'd be interesting to hear what people do think about that. Obviously it's not in people live now, but obviously you can chime in. But if you're watching this video later on in the comments, tell us, what where do you stand on resources, not courses, or the other way around, or not at all? Because I do think at the minute that approach is doing more damage than good. Because certainly I know I've seen a lot of organizations make that switch and go, great, we've got all these resources. So what do you do when someone joins your business?
Yeah, it's glorified documentation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, This is why. So, I mean, when you said it, I freaked out a little bit, and then I read Nick's thing, which is it's courses to resources, which I see it as fundamentals to practical application. And as somebody
Ooh,
who has done, so my background, I've got a decade in application training, so specifically software as a service companies. So, getting the foundations of what is like email marketing is a big one. What is marketing? Why do you care about this? Why do you care about this button? Why do you care about this feature? Gets you understanding why I'm showing you what this button does and why it was built into the product. And now that you have that mentality, I like that split. I like Nick's split of let me make you understand. That way, when we start talking about when we get into the meat, like, I'll use my card game stuff. When I teach you the fundamentals of a card game, when I show you what cards do, you can expand and
yeah,
explore.
yeah.
You
I
know how to
always
do
used
that.
to, yeah, I always used to call it the filing cabinet principle. If you give people
Yeah.
loads of bits of information, they're just holding loads of bits of paper, right? But if you build them a
Mhm.
nice filing cabinet and show them how it all works, being alphabetized, and then give them information, it's much more useful. It's more viable long term for them, right? They understand how things connect.
I
Yeah,
have my
I
I have my bumper sticker version of training, which I've held to for about 6 years, which is training does three things in an order, and it's all alliterative. It's alliteration because I'm that guy. My marketing background creates confidence, encourages exploration, inspires innovation. That's my three in that order. I need to get you fundamentals so you feel confident in a thing. Then you mess around with that thing, and then you create your own stuff. And I tailor it to like a piano, like learning the piano. I can't play the piano for crap. But if I learn fundamentals, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find a song I really want to play on the piano, and I'm going to play that, and I'm going to mess around with it, and then I'm going to start making my own stuff.
mm,
Um, that's how I've always approached it. I feel like that's
okay,
very
that's
much
cool.
what he's trying to do
Yeah,
as I look at his roadmap of courses to resources.
yeah,
And that resources, not courses, literally just skips that confidence step. It just
yeah,
throws it away. And I've been burned by that so many times. Because as a trainer, especially working in SaaS, that's option paralysis. Here's 75 buttons in front of you. Which one would you like to learn about?
but that's because
No,
for
I'd like to
years
learn where the
in
bar
business
is.
though, yeah, for years in business we've been focused on speed to competency. That's how you measure how good your training department is. How quickly do you get someone competent in their job role?
Yeah,
And
it,
that
does, it doesn't
it's
even.
it's the wrong measure, really. Let's be honest.
Well, it's because it's because our industry doesn't know how to train, how to get feedback. That's starting to come up. I'm starting to
Hmm.
see that. Because yeah, how do you get them up to speed doesn't necessarily mean how up to speed were they 6 months down the road. That's one of the things that I really liked about working at a call center training environment
Yeah.
was we actually matched up how well our training did based on our attrition rate. So we got somebody in on on support teams and we said if 20-30% of our individuals who were trained, which we spent 3 weeks on them, if they left the company, we have a problem with our training.
Yeah.
And we would look at why. And we would look at their SAT scores and we would look at all that stuff. And that helped guide us. And I want to bring that more. But I think
Yeah.
doing that, that's when you start getting to actually look at courses versus resources and say, hey, this the courses thing, the only way that this works is if you have a tangible piece of feedback that you can look at a course and say it contributed to this tangible piece of feedback. And maybe that's where this whole crap came from, is resources that instant gratification of I know how to do the thing that I've been struggling with.
Yeah.
And I can prove that. And it doesn't take a whole lot of other things into consideration because I have this one big shiny number that says you're good at things all of a sudden. Um,
Yep.
and that's kind of what courses need to do, is not that you're good at things, it's that you're good at comprehending all the things that you need to be good at. And then you get good at those and you become better at those. I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
spitballing. I'm throwing it out.
Yeah. I think it's. I don't know. Just it's a funny topic as a whole because I think I don't know.
I do
I
feel that a
think
lot of these methodologies and dumb ideas that become memes and jingles and three-word slogans get kicked in the teeth if we as an industry actually look at how we measure.
Mm,
I kind of wish we would. I struggle. The last 4 jobs that I've had struggled with measurement. And
I think that's quite
last
common.
one I had was you created 5 PowerPoints. You created 6 Rise courses. You guys did good for the quarter. No, we didn't. They were bad. You have no proof that they're good.
Yeah.
But because training never, like in my industry and in my experience, sorry, and maybe others who've worked corporate land know differently, training doesn't have a clear path to the top. It always sits under product, sales, or growth, or revenue, or some other department that is not, just not focused on what training does. So you have to meet different standards that
Yeah.
have nothing to do with training. It wasn't was your training good, it's did your training make money? It wasn't was your training good, it's did you get high NPS scores on it that we can then use to market our product? And I think that's what's screwing us over. At least again in corporate land, I think that's what
Hmm.
screws us over. And that's why you get what's the next bit fad? Courses, resources, not courses.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Yeah. I think I'd agree with that. A lot of the problems would be solved if we actually knew what did and didn't work. I think even then, from it's funny because I know weirdly Anya's going to talk about this at IDTX, but part of the issue as well is when we do grab lots of data, often we just kind of get this big spreadsheet and go, cool, here's some data.
Yeah.
What do we do
This
with it?
big number that's in the 90s, that means we're good, guys.
Yeah,
I hate it.
this
I hate
this is
NPS and
it.
training.
Yeah, I've never quite. Would you recommend it to your family and friends? Well, what bloody relevance does that have to what we were trying to achieve?
Right?
I wasn't trying to sell you a cheese grater or a subscription to my magazine. I was trying to get you to understand something or be able to do something you didn't understand or weren't able to do before. That's the
I
question
worked
we
for a
need to
company.
be asking. Can you now
Yeah,
do this? Yes or no? If the
I
answer's
worked for a
no,
company.
the training was bad. It's as
Yeah,
simple as that. It's.
I worked for a company that was solely NPS
Hmm.
as far as how they graded things. And you get like 100 responses, and if like 90 of them said I would not recommend this, and 10 of them did, you'd look to the 10 and be like, we did it for some people, and the rest it's a matter of opinion, and you have literally nothing to work off of because you don't get to do
Yeah.
follow up with
No.
NPS.
No.
Because the only follow up that you have, right, is what did you like about this course? What didn't you like about this course? And unless you know what you're talking about with training, you're not going to get any answers that are constructive. It was too long. It was too short. There were too many words. There were too many videos. How about it
Yeah,
didn't help me with my job, which you're not going to know until 3 months later.
absolutely. I think it's fair. Joe Suarez there saying it's
Yeah.
exactly his corporate experience too. Very little measurement,
Yeah.
almost none of it meaningful. I get that. I remember working somewhere where there was a question um after a training room session, but I think that's still valuable in theory. And then one of the questions was the temperature in the room okay? On a feedback for a training experience, was the temperature okay? Were your breaks long enough? These were questions on the form.
Oh my god.
Did you enjoy the session? Do you feel you've built a relationship with the trainer? Um, and it's funny because
Oh,
there were other questions on the form that were really useful. On a scale of
okay.
1 to 10, how useful was this in preparing you to do X? I can
Perfect. Good
see,
one.
yeah, why not? Because this was in fairness an induction or one part of an induction course. So,
Yeah.
they aren't going to really know the job very well yet. But you're getting as close to usable data as you can in that scenario. There were questions around based on this training, do you feel on a scale of I think it's 1 to 5, how confident do you feel about joining the contact center? It's not 100% accurate measure, but it is important. Oh god, we've got Leica puns coming in now. Um,
We've done that before. We did that last time, buddy. Be new.
oh dear, but a Leica joke never gets old, does it? Um, but yeah, so
Sure
there was
doesn't.
some good stuff mixed in. But then what we would end up talking about to the business was, oh yeah, do you know what? Everyone really enjoys training. So
Doesn't
our trainers got a 9 point whatever in terms of building connections with people. It's
if I
like,
gave
so what you
everyone
mean is we
$50
can.
when they walk through the door, they'd get the same score.
This is it.
I
I
don't have the
kind
training.
of yeah. This is it. And the issue you've got is that this is kind of why I again guess why Tom doesn't do well in office environments. Sat there in a meeting and went, well, what it means is someone like me walks into the room and for 3 hours I pretend that I don't hate them. That's what that score tells you. Um, sorry, that's what it says. Because
Yeah,
when I walk
not
into a room
wrong.
of 18 and 19-year-olds getting their first job in a contact center they couldn't give a crap about,
No.
guess what? You know, I don't actually want to spring around and talk about this and help them draw posters about the importance of whatever it was that that contact center was dealing with and all this sort of stuff. It's not a measure of learning. I mean,
No.
what if we measured academic learning that way? Do you like your teacher? Yes, excellent teacher. No, of
Get an
course we don't
A.
measure teachers that way. We
Send me to
measure them.
Yale.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like the best teachers in the world would have the stupidest students if that's how we measured teacher performance. So why do we measure trainer performance that way? I don't actually care whether someone likes or enjoys a training experience, especially in the
Yeah.
corporate world, you're at work. As much as there's this
Yeah.
whole work should be fun, for the vast majority of us, work isn't fun. Work is something you do in order to get money, in order to be able to have fun
Work
and
can only be
eat
fun
and
if you
stuff like
know
that.
how to do what the hell you're doing. And then
Exactly.
it becomes
I would,
natural. The hard stuff
yeah,
becomes a natural instinct to you. That's it.
I would much rather someone said, it wasn't fun, but actually I can do my job better now. Brilliant. To me, that is a highly successful bit of training right there. Would I prefer them to say I enjoyed it as well? Of course I would. Is that the
Yeah.
priority? No. And I feel like that's another where these kind of what should be an applicable idea of learning should be engaging and enjoyable has been taken to the extreme where that's
Mhm.
become the priority and if they learn something along the way that's good too. um
Think- I mean, I feel like part of the draw of this course is not resources thing is that the word course sounds like a chore. It
yeah
sounds like a long endeavor that companies are going to need to invest in, and resources are the who fucking go see a thing, and I'll see you in this meeting in 5. Get yourself prepped for it. Absorb what you can. So maybe Maybe the answer is that it's just freaking cheap. It's a cheap BS solution.
Not if they
Lord
come
knows
to
I've
me
had
and
to deal
ask
with
for
that.
resources, it's not. Not gonna lie, you come to me and say we're resources, not courses. I'll take your money, but I'll take a lot more of it than if you just let me design a course.
I feel like I'm showing this off. I'm just thinking about like budgets and like
Yes.
if I ever hear a company say that, it helps me understand the training budget that they're willing to allocate. This thing, which is garbage by the way, a Logitech $40 headset. It took me 7 months to get budget approval for this at a company.
Wow.
I feel like that's the kind of company that would be like, how many resources can you make? And I don't really care if they go together. Like even the
Yep.
microphone just it doesn't even
Good enough.
stupid.
Yeah. It's a funny
Not
old
sponsored
world,
by
isn't
Logitech.
it? Logitech do make some excellent products, like my mouse. There you go, like my mouse. But a lot of their products are also
Yeah, no,
crap.
yeah, I'm happy with mine.
Yeah. So, though, admittedly, I say that having ordered a new one to replace it. Uh, moving away from Logitech, but there's nothing wrong with this one. I just like to change stuff.
I remember when they were amazing, man. They were
Oh yeah,
gold standard keyboards and mouses and mice. Sorry, it's them and
yeah.
Microsoft. Those were the two that were combating, and then Apple just existed. We didn't give a crap. We still don't, but
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, I've got a Logitech keyboard with the Roma G switches. They're excellent, I must admit. But their linear travel is just a little bit longer than I personally like. So I will change them at some point. But that is like how many people worry about the linear travel of their keyboard, in fairness. I think the Logitech is still a great brand if actually you just want something that reliably works for your core
Mhm.
mouse and keyboard. Once you get into the I want, you know, a more noticeable tactile bump or a clicky sound or a shorter throw on the key or whatever it might be, that's where they struggle because they don't really have those options. They have their key set and that's it, and their actuation settings, and you can't really customize them. But that's not really relevant to instructional design. Uh, that was more last month's
No,
show when we talked about
that's
computers.
last month's show. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so that's our linear travel. So basically, it's just the way that the key moves down. How long you have to push a key down before it actuates, or not actuates. It actuates the moment you touch it, but before it, says I've pushed this button. And for me, it's just that little bit too far. So I'm going to Gateron green switches, which have a much smaller linear travel, but have quite a nice little tactile bump on them as well, without being clicky. Sorry, can you spot the keyboard nerd in the room? Keyboards, there's a whole world. YouTube it; it's incredible. So yeah, I guess that's probably enough on the courses versus resources or not resources or whatever the case might be. But I'd love to hear different people's opinions on that because I know it's a popular one. We've been going for quite a while, so let's do the tech updates. And I want to go
Yep.
first on tech updates, and I'm not going to
Okay.
do a big tech update. I just want to do the most hilarious bug fix that Storyline had to do. So Storyline had to fix because multi-monitor users were having crashes when opening the media library just because they were on multi-monitors.
Because who uses more than one monitor?
This is it.
Seriously.
As I said recently, frickin' everyone, except one person that I know. But yeah, it's sorry, Phil.
Oh,
Yeah. But yeah, I think this is, to me, just seeing that was indicative of the place that Storyline is now in. Storyline, rather than taking big jumps forwards, is busy spinning in circles trying to fix the fact that its code is clearly a mess. Like, that's the
yes.
kind of issue that only comes up and doesn't get spotted during QA before a release if your code is a mess. And I say that based as well on the fact that someone else that I know recently took an exported storyline file to someone who writes code for a living, put it in front of them, and they were like, "Oh, this is a stinking mess. I would never release this to anything anyone was going to touch in the public domain. We would never host this on our servers. I would get fired if I put this live." And it's like, "Oh, wow. Okay. So it's not great then." So, no, what kind of, is this like some kind of free online tool? No, it's not.
No,
Um, it's
people have
among the
careers
more
based on this.
expensive options. Yeah, it's the industry standard, as you might say. Um,
That's pretty bad.
oh, we've gone on
We
to
do know.
key switch jokes. Amazing. That makes me
Oh
very
my
happy.
god.
Finding the perfect keyboard buttons is just the cherry MX on the top for Tom.
Oh my
Love it.
god.
Love it.
You know what? You know what? I'm so embarrassed. Is I actually understand that joke. That's what makes me sad.
This
I
is
actually understand those.
this is the
Um,
stream where all the cool kids hang out, as you can tell. Um,
we do know. So we know that there's the big update happening in August for storyline. It's a required update. We have no clue what the heck's in it. So maybe it's a cleanup. Like we don't see required update. That's not a thing that happens. So I'm hoping maybe they clean something. Maybe they understand how text works finally, which would be great. Be wonderful.
I'd just like to be able to adjust some level of the alignment or leading. That'd be great.
Yeah. Oh man, the lead. The man, that stuff. Kerning landing tracking. That please. That'd be a great ad. Even Camtasia did it. They call themselves a video editor and they suck as one, and they have that.
Yeah, there it's
Shouldn't be hard.
like as a regular storyline user, it's the one thing that actively frustrates me. Like everything else, the little quirks, the occasional crashes, whatever, I've kind of gone, it's just what it is. But the text thing, there's just no reason for it.
Right?
You know, well, what can you do? It's yeah. So yeah, I think that upgrade I hope I'm wrong. I think it's going to be related to account security and payment stuff. I think it's going to remain largely unchanged, and it's going to be that kind of thing. Because obviously they had a big problem where licenses were being used on multiple sites because you could use it in two places at the same time. Then they kind of cracked down on that to stop people sharing licenses. Personally, I think that's where it's going. Because last time this happened, you lost the ability to use Storyline without being signed in. So I have a sneaking suspicion it might be something relating to that. But we shall see. We shall see.
If you want to hear another stupid one,
go for it.
Like if you, I don't want to one up you, but I feel like this sort of does. As dumb as it is to think that people don't have more than one monitor. June 29th, 2021. They enhanced. This was functioning as designed before this. When I give you this update for Storyline, no, it was functioning as designed prior. I'm just going to read it. Thanks to your feedback, word translation no longer splits text strings with basic font formatting, such as bold and italics, into multiple rows in the exported document. That means that if you had a sentence with italics and bold, if you translated it and exported the document, italicized words would be on a separate line in the doc, and a bolded word would be on a separate line in the document. It was functioning as designed.
Yeah, that's God, that's just not smart, is it? And again, it's not as if this was groundbreaking functionality. They were not the first people in the world to come up with. There's a set standard, isn't there, for it? I can't remember XMIF or whatever it is. I don't know.
Whatever.
Yeah, but this was an established standard. They clearly just implemented it terribly, and went, that's good enough. How many languages are there? You know,
who designs this thinking that's what people wanted?
Oh,
Like, what feedback were you hoping to hear? Thank you for making this the most unreadable, inefficient document imaginable.
Yeah, I mean that's
We love
just
you.
yeah. Stuff like that. Again, I would accept it if this was like some quirky, free, open source tool. I would say, do you know what? I've
Yeah.
got no right to complain. Um,
Mhm.
Storyline is not open source. Storyline is definitely not free. It is on the more expensive end, and I don't. I think you overall you get value for what you pay for Storyline. I don't think it's overpriced as such, but I do think that with that kind of price tag, there is an expectation that it just works.
Mhm.
That's what the Apple price tag is. Their whole thing, the
Yeah.
original Apple stuff was it just works. You plug it in and it works. And therefore, to some, it was worth the price tag. Even those who knew maybe they weren't getting top end, really, they were willing to pay more because they would plug it in and it would just work. That is my expectation for something with a price tag like Articulate.
Mhm.
And errors like that are the reason I think it's viewed often as overpriced for what it is.
Yeah. As I've worked with it a heck of a lot more, especially in the last year or so, I wholeheartedly agree. Some of this stuff is unforgivable. It's just absolutely unforgivable. It's like a car where the steering wheel is just not functional. Like, I'm
No,
glad you got the rest of it.
it's just not turning as designed. Following user feedback, they'll make it turn. That's, that's
Following user feedback, we decided to make the wheels circular.
we had no
Our orig-
idea, but thank you for letting us know.
our original cube efforts worked great in the snow, but didn't
Like,
move a car. We
look
only
at that.
tested downhill.
You do have to wonder like who would launch a product with that kind of issue in it.
Right?
Like, did someone just say, "I don't care"? Live,
Has to. Like, I
you
don't
know,
want to work for
that's
Articulate because I would pull my hair out.
yeah.
Back into the tech update, just
Go for it.
stuff since other enhancements. Nothing really major in the last month. The built-in widescreen slide size is bigger, I guess.
Cool.
For that's cute. Seek bar is acceptable on mobile is accessible on mobile devices. Um, which I didn't realize that wasn't an issue. That was an issue. I hope that wasn't functional as designed. They fixed a bunch of stuff. Nothing major. They're clearly gearing up for next
Yeah.
month, whatever next month is. Um, Captivate. Uh, they fixed some critical bugs and depreciated some legacy interactions. They're not doing anything.
If you've
They
still
never do
got
anything.
critical bugs after not updating your software significantly in years, there's a problem.
Let me read it. In this update of the 2019 release of Captivate, we have fixed some critical bugs and deprecated few legacy interactions due to low usage. And the immediate joke is, don't you think you should deprecate the entire product due to low usage?
Oh dear, poor Captivate.
Um,
I,
I'm sorry. They're like
I,
the American soil beer of learning authoring tools.
yeah. It's the kind of thing where you go into a like quite a large business and they say, what authoring tool have you brought in? And they go, oh, we've got Captivate, and you kind of go, oh,
How much are
would you
you
like?
paying me?
Yeah, would you like to start doing some e-learning? If so, we could. No, that's very good. Captivate can do fantastic things. I just feel like it's well overdue an update, and it's massively let down by the fact that the rest of the Creative Cloud has moved on so much, and
Yes.
Captivate is still just sat there going, "It would be really great if I had some of that simple functionality from Premiere, After Effects, Audition. Could I have that? No. Okay."
You know, the
It's
biggest turnoff for me with Captivate has nothing to do with that and everything to do with the graphic suite that you get for buttons and
mm,
text boxes. It's like Windows 3.1, and they
yeah,
never got away from it. All the beveled pastel color crap.
yeah.
They're just like, man, you're one step from giving me rainbow text with a drop shadow behind it, like Microsoft Word art circa
This thing,
1995.
word art and clip art would not look out of place as options on those menus, would they? Let's be honest.
No,
And
not in the slightest. That's not
yeah,
even a joke.
I must admit,
Absolutely
my
wouldn't.
yeah, my biggest issue with it is actually the unnecessarily complex way things work in it.
Mhm.
It just feels like everything is so much more complicated. And I get that's kind of Adobe's thing. It's the truth with
Yeah.
all of their Creative Cloud things. Everything is twice as difficult as it needs to be. But I feel like in an industry that is like L&D is, where there is a very mixed level of technical savvy in the audience, that's less acceptable. I feel like an animator knows they're going to have to get to grips with After Effects or Animate or whatever they're using. An
Yes.
illustrator knows they're going to have to get to grips with Illustrator or InDesign or whatever's relevant to them. An instructional designer should not have to spend that long learning an authoring tool. Um,
Right.
and I would say storyline's not the simplest thing in the world, but it's the learning curve is much more gradual.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I actually so fun fact, I have a buddy who is looking into transitioning into just developing,
hmm,
and I taught him storyline, and he knows video editing. He knows enough about video editing. So I showed him some storyline. I just showed him some of the nuances, and he just picked up on it
yeah.
immediately. Like storyline is option paralysis if you don't know what you're doing, but it's kind of intuitive if you do, if you have some experience. Um,
Yeah.
there and naturally some things you've got to work through a little bit, but like the whole concept of triggers, you're gonna do better with logic than you will with any sort of coding knowledge.
Oh yeah.
Um, and he understood it great. It was awesome. Um, so someday, someday Captivate.
Who knows? Maybe a new version. Um, so what's your
Hopefully. I
PowerPoint
mean, we talked about it a
ideas
couple
looking
months
apart
ago.
for?
Talked about it a few months ago, and it fizzled. I still haven't heard anything, and I don't know if they're working on a
Yeah.
new version. Anyway, to wrap
Yeah.
it up, I'll do Camtasia as well. I'll do my big three.
Go for it.
The continuing Camtasia 2021 problems just continue. It was bad. It was really bad. Um basically their release in April was a nightmare. Constant crashes, really stupid bugs such as recording your screen even if you turn off screen recording. Um Last update actually happened 3 days ago. It's the same thing, a lot more fixes. There's a lot they're trying to also enhance the recorder. There's a lot of negative feedback regarding the actual screen recorder, so you can actually now turn on and off the countdown. You can adjust the countdown if you want to. You can if you pause this is actually really cool. I like this one. If you are in the middle of a demo and then you pause the recording, it will and then you do stuff, it will restore where your cursor was when you pause the recording.
Oh,
So it's a
that's cool.
seamless break, which is really cool. I like that one. I like that enhancement.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good shout.
But the rest
That's.
of it they're fixing, they're still fixing. It's a lot better than it was when it released. I mean, at leaps and bounds, but
I think we're going to see an awful lot of fixes flying in, or not fixes, but invisible updates, because of course, end of the year now we've got Windows 11. It is
doesn't it just
it's
destroy computers?
it is a coming. Well, Windows 10 was going to be it. Remember, Microsoft told us 7 years
Um,
ago. They stood there and they said there will never be another version of Windows. You will just receive continual updates to Windows 10. And at the time, everyone went, "Oh, that's really cool." And now they've gone, "Oh yeah, we lied. This is Windows 11." Um,
I would have believed that if it were Adobe Captivate.
this is true. Yes, yeah.
You were never going to get
Uh,
another version.
but yeah, no. So yeah, Windows 11. I mean, it does seem to have much higher standards, but at the same time, I mean, who's running a 32-bit system at this point? And if you're that
Right.
person, for God's sake, seriously? Like, you
What
can't
is
run
Windows
any
11 going to
software.
bring you?
It's,
Uh,
I mean, nothing really runs, like, no authoring tool runs on 32-bit anymore, is a good example. Certainly no one in our industry could be using a 32-bit system, I don't think. Um, I think, yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I've signed up to the developers group, so I'm hoping in a couple of weeks I will have the early copy of it, and my plan is to see what works on it. Can you use
nice.
Storyline? Can you use Captivate on Windows 11 in its current form? Or is it buggy as all hell? They're both going to be buggy as all hell, is the honest
Oh
answer.
yeah.
But that's why I do think we're going to see a lot of updates over the next few months that we're looking at and thinking, doesn't do anything. What are all these updates for? And I think it's going to be setting up for Windows 11 because I mean the first like rollout of it is in like November.
Yeah.
So we've announced in late June, and we're looking at 4 to 5 months until the first people are logging on and expecting everything to just work.
Right.
And I'm sure it's not the world's biggest change, but there's certainly going to be some changes.
Mhm.
I mean, they're pushing things like AVX 12 and that kind of thing, so that'll be interesting to see how it affects like builds. They might kill AMD CPUs because it seems to be very Intel focused, but we shall see. But yeah, so I think that tech-wise, I think that's the only big change on the horizon from my perspective, is that updates are going to be talking about Windows 11.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Bring back Windows 7 or XP. XP was good. I liked XP.
He was good. But that's all I have for you for tech updates. Like I said, if anybody wants me to see, if anyone wants me to do any others, I really just focus on the big three because that's what everybody keeps asking for on resumes. Nothing major. We just know Articulate's going to be massive. Our August episode is probably going to be a lot of what in the world. If it's
Why
not,
does
I'm gonna be
nothing
mad.
work?
Yeah, right.
It's totally going to be that. But hey, but yeah. So I mean, it's been a heck of a show. It's been nearly 2 hours. So we will wrap up there, guys. But yeah, as always, if you have enjoyed the show, do hit that like button. If you aren't already subscribed, subscribe to the channel. If you do want to support what we do here, or IDTX, or if it's particular content that you would like, you can check out our Patreon. We've also got a Buy Me a Beer, or you can buy a super cool t-shirt like the one Joey's wearing today. Comes in a range of colours, be it green, purple, orange, red, white. The white one's terrible. Don't order the white one. It just won't let me take it off the site. It's one of those horrible whites where it's like almost see-through. So yeah, don't order that. But yeah, we're gonna have loads of cool stuff going up soon, posters, all that kind of jazz, and stuff for IDTX. If you aren't already signed up for IDTX, do sign up before you go. If you'd like to speak and you're not already booked in to speak, which I think most people are, in fairness. But if you aren't and you would like to, do get in touch. We have some speaking slots left available. Everyone's welcome. You don't have to have spoken at 1,000 conferences before. It's all about sharing what we know. And just to wrap it off, make sure you go and follow Joey on his channels. Training is Blank and Decks and Drafts if you're into your card games.
Yeah, I'm a nerd. I'm proud of that. So
absolutely, why not? Well, thank you everyone. Have a good weekend, evening in the UK, afternoon over in the States, and until next month. There's only one place for the breaking news in the world of instructional design. The ID Update with Tom and Joe. All the news you never knew you never needed. Only on IDT.